what's up? This order kind of got changed. Something called Creed Out. If you don't know Creed Out, we're gonna watch honestly, I'm just going to watch a lot of videos today so I could get okay.
Probably the most confusing YouTube video you'll watch in your life, because it was the most confusing YouTube video I have ever made in my life. Hello everybody, my name is King Noosme. While I work on my Night of the Living Dummy video, I asked you guys what video you guys would like to see, and I started getting a lot of comments on my last Creeped Out video, which is my last video, go check it out, for an episode called Tillybone. It was not recommended to me at all until that video, and then it got recommended like 4 or 5 times. People just randomly remembered it for some reason. Needless to say, it won the poll. This episode of Creeped Out is very special because it tells its story in reverse, and it's also in like a Lost Tapes, Blair Witch kind of thing, where it's like you're watching a vlog camera, but it's like if you're watching Blair Witch in reverse and you don't know what the hell is going on the whole time, and you watch it 4 times and you still don't know what's going on, so you have to look up the wiki and find out what's going on. I'm very mentally stable. It's very fun. But enough about that. Let's get into the video. The episode starts off with the Curious, of course, our favorite little guy according to this poll, and if you look at him carefully, you see he's walking a bit weird. That's because he's walking in reverse, and he dumps this white powder on his hand, or maybe sucks up this white powder from his hand, while the narrator asks us, what if a scary story went backwards? Would it make it any less creepy? Spoiler alert, no, it doesn't make it less creepy, it just makes it more confusing. So please, try to stay with me as I explain this. I'm going to recap it at the very end, so maybe the story will make somewhat sense, but you're going to be a little confused. I'm going to admit it. You're going to be confused. But I'll try to make it make sense for you guys, so let's get into it. First, we meet our main character, Cass, and she is an online personality. She's obsessed with this movie series called Outer Realm, and she's based her whole internet personality off of this one thing. Like, who just chooses one thing that gets them a lot of attention, and then they just do it over and 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 what was I talking about? Oh yeah, she talks about the movies in a vlog style for her viewers. And it shows us this in small clips as it fast forwards through the episode, showing us little snippets of the episode, including this one thing showing us the Tillybone.
It's a tilly stick.
Telling us it is the Tillybone, so I can't make any dildo jokes. I had so many dildo jokes planned. So many, and they're just all useless now. And as the video slips away, it shows this guy. This is Cass's dad, and he's gonna go check up on the kids. But as he's going to check on them, he finds the house is an absolute wreck. And when he does find Cass, she's cowering in a corner with a small doll laying on the carpet underneath him. Cass runs up to him and says she knows what her gift is.
It's Junebug.
Which means nothing to you right now, but stick around and maybe it'll make sense. Then the show rewinds and we get to see Cass fighting a blonde girl. This blonde girl is Junebug, and they're fighting for the Tillybone that's on the floor. Sadly, Junebug wins this fight and she says,
What comes around goes around.
wait, isn't that backwards?
It's what goes around comes around.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But after she says this, the rug starts spinning underneath her, and it sucks her into the floor in this really cool scene. Probably the coolest scene in the whole episode. But before she gets sucked down, she says,
All you've done is shoot the messenger.
very ominous. We hit the rewind button again, and the girls are now downstairs, and Junebug is threatening Cass again with the Tillybone. But as she's threatening her, Cass says,
But I didn't do anything.
then suddenly this dude runs out with cake all over his face, and he talks about how he killed the cake. Is he okay? Anyway, Cass takes the Tillybone and throws it.
No!
What kind of throw was that? What was the plan? What is that gonna do? She's just gonna walk over there and pick it up. Then they start fighting, but we've already seen this, so you know what that means. Then we meet another new person. This girl's name is Claudia. It looks like she's hiding in the bathroom and trying to call for help, but sadly she got. Junebug takes the phone from Claudia, and Claudia runs out to see that Cass has the Tillybone. She begs Cass not to use the Tillybone on her, but she reluctantly does it anyways and then tells her to not think of anything. Very interesting. And Claudia thinks of nothing for a surprisingly long amount of time. I don't know if you guys have ever just tried to not think of anything. It's pretty hard. She did it for a good like 30 seconds. That's amazing. But as she's trying to not think of anything, Junebug tells her that not thinking of anything's not going to work. She's gonna think of something at some point. But you see, Claudia's smarter than Junebug. She thinks of something she can't see.
She beat it. You can't beat it.
Then suddenly we hear little whispers from behind Claudia, and she turns around to see nothing there. And the other girls can't hear or see it either, but she knows something is there, so she just keeps spinning in circles and spinning like a dog chasing its tail. And I guess she's gonna do this for the rest of her life? I don't know. Then Junebug grabs the Tilly bone and turns to Cass and says,
Your turn. What?
but Cass claims that she shouldn't be punished because she didn't do anything.
Didn't you?
I killed it!
Wait a minute, we've already seen this scene, so we have to rewind. The girls are back upstairs with a girl named Alice, and it seems that she is being chased by this doll. The camera pans up to see that Junebug is really fucking creepy at the end of this hallway. I didn't like this scene. Cass tells Junebug that she wants out of the game. She's done. She doesn't want to do anything anymore. Things are getting too weird, and we've only seen the end of it. You don't see how this shit starts. It is pretty weird. But Junebug won't let her give up, and she opens the door to her parents' room and threatens to use the Tilly bone on them so their dreams become real. And if she doesn't blow the Tilly bone in everybody's face, then her parents get got. Then Junebug tells us this nightmare she had one time about her turning into a slug slowly. I don't know if they put this in here to honor Junji Ito with his Slug Girl story, or if they were trying to be creepy and just didn't know that it had already been done. Anyways, Cass agrees to finish the game, and that's why she looked so forced to use it on Claudia before. Junebug is also forcing Cass to vlog this whole thing because
What kind of vlogger are you?
that's when they hear the landline beeping from the phone upstairs. And that's how they find Claudia in the bathroom. But wait a minute, we've seen this before. You know what that means? I wish they would rewind a little bit farther every time, because it's been 3-minute segments and they get shorter. They get shorter from here on out. It's just little bitty segments. Sometimes I wish this episode would have started from the beginning. After the rewind, we get Cass's POV. She's upstairs still and she's looking for Junebug, but she doesn't find her. She finds her friend Alice, who looks visibly freaked out because of the doll. But she's trying to stay alert, because if she stays alert, then the doll can't sneak up behind. It's behind her, isn't it? Cass grabs the doll and she locks it in a chest, and she tells Alice to stay right there. But Alice tells her no and looks inside the chest to find the doll is gone. So she runs downstairs to find the doll down there. Oh wait, oh no, we've already seen this. Okay, I'm gonna combine 2 rewinds and 1 to make it like one coherent thing, because they were both like a minute rewind and I don't feel like doing it, and it's my YouTube video, I can do what I want. Nate pleads to this mysterious figure behind the door to please stop pinching him, but it looks like it doesn't want to stop anytime soon. And Claudia tries to comfort Alice about the doll thing, but it doesn't go very well. Cass tells her friends that Junebug has this undo powder that can undo all the weird stuff that's happening to him, and it looks like the same powder that the Curious was pouring out at the beginning of the video. And this is when Junebug reveals that it was sugar. So Nate asks Cass to make whatever is pinching him stop pinching him, but obviously that doesn't work. And Alice opens a pizza box to find the doll's in there again. Damn, she really yeeted that doll into that fire. Oh my god. I mean, I don't blame her. That's just probably annoying. Also, Junebug is recording the whole thing with Cass, but why is she holding her phone like this? She has like the claw grip on that thing. She's about to crank 90s in Fortnite Mobile. Holy shit. And while Nate is having a mental breakdown in the background, Cass is really starting to regret her decisions. But Junebug won't let her think about this for long. And while Junebug is distracted, she actually uses the Tilly bone on her. And when she uses it,
Wish the ground would open up and swallow you.
nothing happens. So Nate is still getting pinched by this mysterious figure, and we get confirmation that whatever the person thinks of first becomes real and starts messing with them. And Claudia does bring up a good point. She asks, like, what if they thought of something dangerous?
What have you thought of an elephant?
Yeah, like what? No, but she does mention that people could have gotten hurt besides the one that got Tilly boned. Get Tilly boned, kids. Hey, you stay away from that Tilly bone. Don't you get started on that Tilly bone. It's addictive. But people could have gotten hurt. This is when Alice asks Cass,
why are you doing this?
but she doesn't have an answer for that. But you know what she does get? A face full of bone dust, Tilly soot, skull powder. What is this stuff called? Red dust. She gets a face full of red dust. So Alice tries to think of something cute and sweet and harmless. So she thought of a little doll. And if you really think about it, the doll that she imagined was just playing hide and seek with her. I mean, yeah, the peekaboos can get annoying and the doll can be a little creepy at times. We also learned that the curses are called Tillies, and Tillies are very annoying and they're very hard to get rid of. Another rewind, and we learned that Junebug is helping Cass get back at her friends. But what did they do, and why? We are now at the moment when everybody gets introduced to the Tilly bone. But among all the questions, Nate gets hit first. And now we can finally see what's been pinching him.
Cake. The cake is gonna mess with him.
I get stressed. I always think of food when I get stressed.
A cake? A cake has been pinching him? A cake has been pinching him this whole time. It's been the cake. Wow. And then we get another rewind again, and the parents are telling the kids to not do anything too spooky because people get freaked out. If only they would wake up and see what's happening in their house. Then we get a few more rewinds. I'm not going to break down all of these ones, but it's just them hanging out. We can see that they're actually pretty close friends, and they actually all get along pretty well. Everybody but Junebug. She sits on this couch and literally doesn't move the whole time. But the rewind I do want to stop it at is this one with the creep shot of her house as her friends are coming in. It's a very weird creative decision to just add a creep shot in the middle of the episode, but you do you, pal, I guess. My cat's gonna knock down this light, I swear to God. The friends come up to the house and they actually bring Cass a gift, and I can't tell what it is. Can you guys let me know in the comments? And we also learned that Junebug was the one that was taking the creep shot from the bushes, and that she's also the new girl and not really their friend, because she has no friend. And I don't think she's gonna have friends after this either. And you can tell that everybody's excited to see her. I mean, look at these smiling faces. Then we rewind quite a bit. We see Cass is crying in the bathroom at school, and she's vlogging it for some reason. I don't understand the people that vlog. What did I say? What did I say?
My cat's gonna knock down this light, I swear to God.
He tried to climb on it. He tried to. It talks about not knowing what she did to deserve all this stuff that's happening to her. But before we can get an answer to what that is, Junebug interrupts her to give her a tissue. And she also shows her this video on her phone. But we don't get to see the video at first, but Junebug does offer to help get revenge. She shows her the tilly stick and says,
And it makes enemies for your enemies.
but Cass is a nice person and declines it at first. That is until Junebug shows her the undo powder and tells her that she can just undo it at any time. Then she agrees to do it. Then we rewind to see what actually happened to Cass. So she looks like a cool rave girl because somebody slipped a note in her locker that said, "Tomorrow dress as someone who inspires you." So she dressed like her favorite character in the movies that she likes. And she thought that everybody at school would be dressed up, but when she shows up, nobody is, and they're all laughing at her and recording her. This is when she meets up with her friends and then shows them the paper that she got, and Claudia tells her,
Cass, this is fake.
so somebody made a fake letter and shoved it in her locker. But who would do that?
Look at that.
It was her friends that did that, and Junebug caught them in the act, so that was the video that she was showing Cass on her phone. Wait, so all this weird creepy stuff has been happening because of a prank? It's just a little bit too far in my opinion. It's not even that bad of a prank. But the episode's not over yet. Rewind again to see that Junebug actually used the tilly stick on Cass way before the party. And after she uses it on her, her friends show up and she says,
3 little Tillies, all in a row.
I'm guessing she's calling the 3 friends Tillies, but I'm not really sure. It's kind of ominous. But what did Junebug have against Cass? Why did she use the tilly stick on her before her friends? Well, we have to go back just a little bit more to get that answer. I started singing. Cass thinks her friends are already pulling a prank on her because she got this weird doll that was in a wooden box in the mail. And with the doll came a note that says it's a present for her, but not one that she can just open, one that slowly unravels. And it's from the director of the movies she makes videos on. But obviously she doesn't believe that the director of her favorite movies is sending her a birthday gift, because that would be insane, right? But like, what if he did send her something? Now we get a snippet of one of her videos. It's a review on the newest movie that had just released for them. And
Just why?
she hated it, to say the least. Like, she didn't say a single good thing in the review. I tried to find like 5 good things I like about bad movies so I don't get evil voodoo dolls on my doorstep. But in her review, she talks about how the prequels to these movies is ruining the mystery to the main story. But in the middle of her recording her review video, she gets a knock at the door. And it's the package that she showed her friends, and she opens it on camera to find the doll. Okay, so that's the end of like the rewinding bit, but it was so confusing that I decided I'm just gonna retell it back in order, so maybe it'll make more sense. So Cass made a mean review about one of her favorite movies. The creator of the franchise gave her a gift of a creepy doll that slowly unfolds. Junebug conveniently starts school the day after she gets this weird package. Junebug also hit Cass with the tilly stick and called her friends Tillies, while Cass was thinking her friends were pranking her with the box. So her friends prank her because they got turned into Tillies. She comes to school in cosplay, gets a little embarrassed. Junebug comes to help her, offering her the tilly stick for revenge and undo powder just in case she wants to stop it. Cass invites Junebug to her party so she can get revenge, but acts like her mom invited her so it's not too weird to her friends. They play the tilly stick game. Nate gets pinched by a cake until he kills it, the dumbest Tilly, I think. Alice has to play hide and seek with a doll for the rest of her life. Cass tried to hit Junebug with the Tilly stick, but nothing happened at first. Claudia gets chased by something she can't see, so she runs away. Junebug and Cass have a big fight over the Tilly stick. Sadly, Junebug wins this fight, but she gets sucked up by the floor. And when she got sucked up by the floor, it left nothing but the doll behind. Her dad wakes up in the morning to check on everybody, finds the house a complete wreck, finds Cass hiding in the corner with the doll on the floor. Cass gets up and says she knows what her gift was. It was Junebug. Junebug was the doll. And we end the episode with the curious walking backwards in this yard as the narrator says, nobody likes to be picked on. So maybe you should think twice before you say mean things. I'm going to stop making mean reviews about things. That's not happening to me. But that was the end of Tillybone. Probably the most confusing YouTube video you'll watch in your life, because it was the most confusing YouTube video I have ever made in my life. Let me know if I kind of summarized it at the end pretty well in the comments below. Hopefully next week I'll have the Night of the Living Dummy video up so you guys can enjoy that. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace.
Hey, excuse me, what are you listening to?
10 hours of screaming and farting.
What? Okay.
Hello everybody, my name is King Newsme. Last week I asked you guys which episode of Creeped Out you guys would like to see me talk about, and you guys voted for Bravery Badge. I haven't talked about Creeped Out in a few weeks, so I'm excited to check it out. And for those of you guys who don't know what Creeped Out is a
I'm probably gonna watch Creeped Out again, but cat food is crazy. I'm not gonna spoil it for you if you never watched it. But I'm going to say Grandma.
children's anthology horror show from the Fallout series, the bongo bongo bongo, I don't wanna leave the jungle, no 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 no. I had that stuck in my head all day. The narrator asks, what if it was actually stuck and there was no way to get it out? Then we get a cool little title card. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Dead Meat recently. We start the episode deep in the Britain Forest. We also get a glimpse of the Girl Scouts we're going to be following throughout this episode. They're known as the Hedgehog Rangers, and our main character, Dent, is one of them. Yeah, her name is Dent. Like a dent in your car? Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. And they make it pretty obvious that Dent doesn't want to be there. She's very rude and tries her best to ignore everybody at camp by listening to some music. Dent gets paired up with Janie, who is the complete opposite of her. Janie is the second in command behind leader Paxton. She has the most badges out of every girl, which she kind of uses as a status symbol. And I can prove this because right when she meets Dent, she points out that Dent doesn't have any badges.
Oh wow, your uniform, so thank.
And I'm being so serious when I say that she just couldn't fathom how Dent didn't have any badges.
No badges, not what?
She has a major issue with this, so she goes to leader Paxton and talks to her about how she doesn't even have the bravery badge. Luckily, Paxton is a nice lady, and she tells Janie that some people have to start somewhere. Just because she doesn't have a badge now doesn't mean she won't have one when we finish. And now that everybody is ready, they can start hiking to the camp. They start hiking down Anasial Valley Trail, which Dent says translates to Death Trail.
What does Anasiel mean? Death.
But apparently that's not what it means. Actually, it actually means madness. So they're on the Madness Trail, which is quite fitting for the episode. If only they looked at the back of the sign, though. On a real note, who wrote "Turn Back Now" on the back of the sign? You know, the part where people can't see it? That night, all the girls are surrounding a campfire while Janie tries to suffocate Dent using bug spray. Janie talks about how nature is our best friend and we need to do everything we can to take care of it, which I can agree. I don't think anybody will disagree about that. But spraying a whole can of bug spray on yourself might not be good for other people's lungs. Do you think about that? Anyways, the girls get called to the campfire so they can tell spooky stories. Leader Paxton tells a story about the campsite that they're at currently. Talks about how all the trails and campsites are all super overgrown because nobody has been there in a long time. No one has even dared camp in those woods. Right now, they're in the most remote part of Britain. And rumor has it that there are some things this deep in the woods that have not been discovered yet. And there might be some things that should never be discovered. But they are there, hidden and watching. And people have tried to venture deeper into the woods, but the ones that have tried never make it back.
Right then, Rangers. bed!
Paxton, I don't know if that was a complete sentence. This story absolutely freaks some of the girls out. The girls try to go to bed that night, but this girl, Jo, is still super freaked out about the story. So Janie makes her a homemade nightlight, which causes Dent to ask her,
Were you, like, born in a tree?
and Janie can tell that Dent really isn't into the Hedgehog Rangers stuff. She doesn't like the badges or the camping or really anything that they do. So she asks her.
Why are you even here?
Turns out Dent has a shitty parent. I had a nickel for every shitty parent was in one of these shows. I'd probably be rich by now. Dent's mom sent her on this camping trip because she wanted to go on a cruise that does not allow kids.
So, here I am, in a tent, with you. Yay.
This is when Janie tries to reach out a little bit, be friendly to Dent, even telling her that there are badges for making music if she really is interested. But she's just met by more sass by Dent.
Is there a badge for be mute? Maybe you could try for that bad boy.
This is when a girl named Arlene gets up to go use the bathroom. But little Jo is very scared for her.
Not in the woods, not alone.
Arlene assures little Jo that she'll be all right, but not without scaring her a little bit.
I'll be right back.
As Arlene's trying to find a secluded spot to do her business, she hears a slight humming coming from somewhere. It almost sounds like a fly is humming a tune or something. She looks around for a second and finds that it's coming from this purple moss on the ground. So she leans down to listen closer when something jumps in her ear. She tries her best to get it out, but it's no use. And she starts to sing that same tune we heard just a second ago. The next morning, the girls wake up tired because Jo kept waking up because she was scared of the dark, which in turn woke up Janie because she was waking her up because she was scared of the dark. So they're both super tired. And Janie finds some dock leaves, which is supposed to get rid of the bags under your eyes and make you wake up faster. But when Jo tries it,
Ow!
turns out those dock leaves were actually poison ivy. Can't imagine rubbing poison ivy on your eyes. How would you even treat that? Janie was just so tired that she accidentally mistook the poison ivy for dock leaves. And now poor Jo is going to want to scratch her eyes out. Dent, in a very snarky way, calls over Miss Paxton,
Let's hope Paxton doesn't see this.
who punishes Janie by taking away her foraging badge. No, why? And this is when Jo finally notices that Arlene never made it back from the bathroom. It only took them 8 hours to notice. Janie tells Paxton the truth, that she went to the bathroom and they thought that maybe she just snuck back while they were still sleeping. So the Hedgehog Rangers split up into 2 groups and try to find Arlene.
Any questions? Right. Let's bring our Hedgehog Ranger home.
And after a while of searching, Janie decides it's best if everybody gets in a grid pattern and they all walk together to try to cover more area to find Arlene. Which is honestly really smart. But Dent points out that they've already been looking for a little while and nobody's doing this, so they could have missed her already. But Janie doesn't want to listen to her because Janie has a badge for finding people.
I have an emergency search badge. What do you have?
There's a badge for everything. There's a badge for everything. While looking, Janie pulls out some binoculars and she spots the other team, but they're acting a little strange. It looks like they also got a little too close to that purple moss, and whatever jumped into Arlene's ear is now inside theirs as well. Janie then pans over to Miss Paxton, who's just standing there, eerily. But when she pans back, the girls have been taken over. The other campers run and find Leader Paxton standing next to a water, not looking at them. They try to talk to her, but they get no response. But she is singing a familiar tune. Quickly, the uninfected girls run away. Well, they try to. 2 of them get stopped by the group that is infected, so they're goners. But Janie, Dent, Jo, and this other random girl do make it out okay.
Infected. Run.
So it looks like the random one was not okay. So the 3 of them run away until they find this abandoned campsite. They found an old Hedgehog Rangers campsite that was just left there to rot. And as they explore a little bit more, Janie tells the story of the Lidland Troop. The Lidland Troop were a group of Hedgehog Rangers that tried camping in these woods a long time ago. But when they came to camp, they were never seen again. Well, I think I know what happened to them. The girls look around a little bit to try to find any clues about what possibly could have happened. And while they're looking, they tell Jo to go out and keep a lookout for the infected girls. Dent finds an old notebook that has a few details about what's going on.
Look at this. They get in.
What are they?
Dent and Janie try to figure out what the book is telling them, but they just can't figure it out. And they also find a sign on the side of the tent that reads,
Whatever you do, don't let them in.
And while on the lookout, Joe finds this cute little teddy bear. So obviously she picks up the bug-infested bear and this old lunchbox, which has a warning to not open it, but Joe doesn't see it because it's on the bottom of the lunchbox. What's with these people and putting important signs where people don't see them? I think you know what happens next. Her saying ow alerted Janie and Dent, so they go to check on her. All she can hear is this humming tune and a bunch of high-pitched noises, which made me want to rip my ears off. And finally, Dent and Janie figure out what the notebook was trying to tell them all along, at the expense of their friend Joe. The girls run once again, and Janie starts to recite one of the Hedgehog Ranger protocols for alerting an adult to your location. But I don't think there's any adults out here in the woods. Neither does Dent, so she tries to call somebody on her cell phone, but there's no signal.
I could have told you that.
Janie talks about making a smoke signal and then goes on and on about the Ranger protocol and how nature is your friend and blah, 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 blah. I see why Dent wears headphones now. Finally, Dent has had enough and tells Janie that Mother Nature isn't your friend, especially right now. Then she puts her headphones on and tries to walk away. But oh no, Janie is not having it this time. She is tired of Dent blocking out all her problems with music. She says you can't run away from your problems and then says something super out of pocket.
You don't solve problems by burying them, like your mum did by putting you here.
That's crazy. That's insane. Janie wants them to find their way out of this using the Hedgehog Ranger way. They fight for just a second, which causes Dent's headphones to unplug, which makes her music play out loud, which is normal, but Janie's reaction to it is what's weird. That's weird, right? Dent tells Janie that she can do things her own way, but she doesn't want to get infected by the other girls. And this is when something unexpected happens.
Please help me.
Looks like Janie is infected too. Apparently she's been hearing the tune since they were back at the tent, and she's been suppressing the tune because she believes she can stop it because she is a Hedgehog Ranger. You're a Girl Scout, dude. You're not a fucking Avenger. She's been doing a pretty good job at suppressing it, but now it's getting stronger and stronger, and she doesn't think she can take it any longer. It starts getting a little too strong, and well...
La la la.
I think the little tune they sing is kind of like a signal to the other infected people because every camper just comes out of the woods and starts chasing Dent. Luckily, Dent runs into the van that they used to get here. She does find her way inside the van, but it's not really any useful because they may act like zombies, but they're smarter than regular zombies. They just open the back door and one by one slowly start coming inside. In a panic state, Dent remembers Janie's reaction to the music earlier. So she takes out her headphones, turns her phone all the way up and blasts rock music out loud, which causes every girl to freak out, but one by one, these little freaky bugs start crawling out of their ears, and they instantly die when they hit the floor. I guess you could say they were saved by the power of rock and roll. Oh yeah. Janie joins Dent in hopes of making the process go a little bit faster. And of course she listens to that kind of music that plays on HGTV whenever the Property Brothers finish a house. And finally, all the girls are saved. The girls gather around the van and take some time to sit down and relax because a lot just happened today. Dent apologizes to Janie for getting one of her badges taken away, which really wasn't even Dent's fault. She did give Joe poison ivy to rub on her eyes, so I think it's Janie's fault that happened. But Janie repays her by taking off one of her badges and giving it to her.
The bravery badge.
Oh, how sweet. But that's when we hear... Looks like Arlene is back, and she brought a few friends. Who are these friends, you may ask? The Lidland Troop. Somehow, a fungus, alien, bug-infested girl found these missing people that have been gone for over 30 years. Kind of insane that she could find it, but not an actual human. And of course, the Hedgehog Rangers pull out their phones and try to save them. We cut back to the Curious, who is standing way too close to the purple moss, even with headphones on. You need to back away, bud. I care too much about you. He records their little tune and tries to keep it as a souvenir. But as he does this, the narrator tells us, don't fear the creatures that you are used to, because it's the ones you don't know.
Those mutants of Mother Nature.
Those are the ones that should keep you up at night. Then the Curious correctly labels the tape "Do Not Listen" on the front of the tape where people can read it. Was that so hard? So yes, our main character Dent goes on a short camping trip with these Girl Scout girls because her shitty mom wanted to go on a cruise. She gets paired up with her complete opposite, total opposite, goody two-shoes second in command, Janie, who follows everything by the book and uses her amount of badges as a status symbol to show off that she is smarter than you, to fight off girls that have been infected by these alien worm things. And the only way to get those little aliens out is some rock and roll. And that's the end of the episode. I do like their kind of fresh take on the zombie thing. It's not like they get bit and then turn into like a dead person. It's reversible, very easily reversible. It's very interesting. Little alien parasite takes over your brain. That's always fun. I do want to say that both Dent and Janie are so insufferable. Oh my god. I had to watch this episode multiple times and I did not like either one of them any more than the last time I watched it. Sometimes you're like, okay, I see where Dent's coming from. Like she's making a good point. But Janie then turns into the asshole. And then sometimes Janie makes a good point. You're like, oh yeah, but then Dent becomes an asshole. And then you can't pick a side. They both suck. They both suck until the very end. I'm sorry. Let me know what you think about Bravery Badge in the comments below. Also, let me know any other Creepshow episodes you want to see me talk about. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get videos a day early, plus some bonus content and maybe some pictures of my cats. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. You guys have been begging for a creeped out video. So here you go. Hi everybody, my name's King Noosme. A few weeks ago I asked you guys what episode of Creeped Out you guys would like to see me talk about, and you guys voted for Sideshow. For those of you guys that don't know, Creeped Out was a children's anthology horror show that aired on the CBBC but was later moved on to Netflix. It sadly got canceled after only 2 seasons and 23 episodes in total. And today we're going to be taking a look at the 2-part season 1 finale Sideshow. It's actually the only 2-part episode in the whole series, which is very surprising to me because these children anthology horror shows, they really like their 2-parters. This also is different from the rest of the series because this episode is actually based in the 1920s or 30s rather than the late 2010s. It's also a fan favorite for the kind of weird twist at the end, so let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode with our favorite little mysterious kid, the Curious. He's in a room full of mirrors with a jar of colorful little marbles, which he promptly, and for no reason at all,
Or even
dumps onto the floor. Come on, buddy, now we have to pick them all up. And as he does this, the narrator asks us, how much do you trust your memories? Are you sure they're real?
are you willing to bet your life upon them?
Then we cut straight to a close-up of the antagonist for these episodes, Zephaniah, and his honestly really cool magical eye. He runs a traveling circus that for the most part has really young performers, and they all have some pretty strange names. The clowns are named Palooka, Nincom, and Hijinks. There's a strong man named Kid Herc, which, okay, that one kind of makes sense. Then he has 2 high divers named Puck and Gudge. Gudge. That sounds like a substance you'll find in like a sewer or something. I do fuck with Puck though. Puck is my homie. And lastly, Ace. The only normal name here. Ace is our main character and Zephaniah's favorite. And he's an aromarologist, which means he can smell very well. He can smell so well that he can tell people which shoe they're hiding their money in, which he does to this gentleman in the crowd. First he asks the guy if they've ever met, which of course they always say no. Then he hits them with the Nardwuar questions.
Like, for instance, the fact that you keep your money in your left shoe?
Which he gets right every single time. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, he just got a little lucky with that one. Well, listen to this. The next lady he talks to, he mentions that he can smell her sadness. How? He says that he can smell sick cat fur on her clothes and also the smell of English ivy.
Have you recently purchased an English ivy plant?
Yes.
That's insane that he called that out. He tells them that the cat must have eaten some of the ivy and now is a little sick.
But don't worry. When you get home, just remove the plant. You'll see she's her old self in no time.
What a saying, everybody. Saving sickly cats from their neglectful owners. He's also so stinking cute. After the show, Ace is watching all the families leave, and as he does this, he keeps getting flashbacks of what we can only assume is his family. But while he was daydreaming, he almost walks out of the boundary of the circus.
Let's keep away from the boundary, shall we?
Everywhere they go, Zephaniah puts up a boundary around the circus so the circus performers are safe, but if they accidentally leave the boundary, well, you'll see what happens later. Zephaniah congratulates Ace on his wonderful performance by giving him his favorite treat, peanut brittle. I mean, it is the 20s, so I guess peanut brittle is probably like the Skittles of the time. I also know it sounds dumb for me to mention that he loves peanut brittle, but I promise it's very important. Later that night, we actually see Ace takes all the rejected pictures from the photo booth in the circus, and he brings them back to his trailer to put them in his secret locker. This is just another example of Ace showing that he really misses being a part of a family, but he doesn't even know who or where they are. But after that, Zephaniah calls everybody in the circus to have a meeting, and along the way, Ace spots these strange flying orbs from outside of the barrier. They all group up to meet a new circus member that Zephaniah calls outcasts. Wow, that must make them feel better. But this is when we meet Indigo. Indigo is played by Catherine Emily Douglas, and she's actually in a lot of stuff, but you guys might have seen her in the show Spooksville, that I'm going to be talking about soon. Indigo is visibly nervous, but everybody makes it 10 times worse by just immediately asking her all sorts of questions, especially Ace. Ace asks her specific questions about her hometown and how she got there, or what route she took to get to the circus. He does get an answer, but strangely, she has a hard time remembering what the name of her town was.
Hillsville? Wait, no, Hollingsville. It was Hollingsville.
Luckily, another circus member stops Ace from asking too many questions and scaring her away. That night, Ace has some dreams about his family, but he wakes up in a panic. He immediately looks through a sketchbook he has that has all kinds of details about his previous family. He has some very detailed pictures of the house and even some pretty detailed pictures of the family themselves. But as he flips through the journal, somebody calls for help. Indigo got herself lost in the maze of mirrors and she starts to somewhat panic. Luckily for her, Ace has a good sniffer and can find her with ease. It tells her to calm down and just close her eyes so the mirrors don't play tricks on her brain. And he kindly guides her out of the maze. And as they walk back to their trailers, Indigo confesses that she's pretty nervous about tomorrow because she doesn't have any talents. And she's worried now because the clowns told her that she has to perform. And Ace tells her that she must have one or Zephaniah wouldn't have picked her to be in the circus. He says that everyone that came here didn't know that they had a talent, but they found out what it was pretty quickly. I highly doubt Kid Herc didn't know what his talent was before he came here. That dude is huge. Like, come on, the dude is a bear. Ace also mentions that he doesn't really know why they can do what they do, they just seem to do it naturally. And back at his trailer, Ace confesses to Indigo that he doesn't really know where his hometown is either, before Indigo just goes through his stuff. How rude. But it's too late now. She's already seen all the random pictures of the families that he has hanging up in his locker. So he decides to just confess to her why he does this. Now get your tissues because the next line you hear is very sad.
Sometimes I pretend I'm one of them.
It's just so sad, man. He then shows Indigo his sketchbook that has pictures of his real family in it. He says these pictures come from his dreams, which he believes is his true memories. And he believes that Zephaniah gives everybody fake memories to keep them in the circus.
Everything I know is a lie.
This also makes Indigo believe that her memories have been wiped because she had such a hard time remembering her town's name earlier. Indigo also finds a picture that she likes inside of his sketchbooks, so as a thank you, Ace rips it out and gives it to her. Aw, how sweet. Cut to the next day, and it's Indigo's time to find out what her talent is, which she isn't so thrilled about. At first, she gets stage fright, but luckily, Zephaniah and Ace give her the confidence to at least go out on stage. She stands there awkwardly for a couple of seconds before grabbing a large metal ring to do some aerial acrobatics, which she isn't so good at. Ace encourages her to try just one more time, and then suddenly she's just the best the world has ever seen at this. Some people take years to get this good, but for her, piece of cake. What is, it's just a metal ring, right? Afterwards, they all hang out backstage, and Indigo confesses that she kind of likes being on stage. But Ace ruins the mood by saying that he's kind of forced to be up there, and they can't really leave because of the boundary. We learn that pretty much everybody else believes that Zephaniah sets up this boundary to protect them. But of course, Ace feels like he uses it to keep them inside. Ace somewhat interrogates Puck and Gudge about their previous life, and how they got to the circus. And unsurprisingly, they don't remember very much. This sends Ace on somewhat of a rant about the outside world, but they try to calm him down by telling him,
Past is past.
That's right, Ace.
and he only stops when Zephaniah shows up. Zephaniah congratulates Indigo with her good performance, and he gives her her circus name.
Indigo, the Flying Sprite.
The Flying Sprite? But she kind of rolls around in a ring. Shouldn't it be like Indigo the Roly-Poly or something? But after that, they decide to all just go ahead and get some sleep, even though it's like 3 p.m. for them. But before she gets too far, Zephaniah stops Indigo and takes a look at the picture that Ace gave her.
I see you've been making new friends.
Good night.
I don't like the way he said that. He's definitely up to something. Cut to later that night, and Ace is drawing a water tower that he's seen in his dreams, when Kid Herc comes up to him and compliments on how realistic it looks, which confuses Ace at first, but Herc thought that he was just drawing the water tower that was peeking through the trees.
This is where I'm from. My real home.
It looks like they've made it back to Ace's hometown, which is great news. So he runs back to his trailer to grab his other sketchbook, but when he gets there, looks like somebody beat him to it.
You truly are an enigma.
Oh no. Finally, Ace just lets it all out. He tells Zephaniah that he knows his memories are fake and he knows that he's trapped inside of this circus and he wants to go home because they're in his hometown. He accuses Zephaniah of taking him from his family and locking him in this cage he calls a circus. But Zephaniah says, "Oh, you're free to roam, you're free to explore," which is a lie because the circle burns him if he tries to walk outside of it. But Zephaniah claims that it's there to keep the bad people out. Yeah, okay, buddy.
You really think that I would steal someone from their own home?
Yeah, actually, I do believe you would do that. Zephaniah tells Ace that he didn't steal him, that Ace came to him because his family rejected him, and that Zephaniah and everybody else in the circus is his real family. But that doesn't work on Ace.
Liar!
So Zephaniah finally gives in and decides to help Ace find his real family. And that's where part 1 ends. Not much happens in this episode, actually. It's just all lore and, introductions. But it is very needed for part 2. We meet all these cool, colorful characters and we see how exactly they fit in with the circus and the vibes. I also don't trust Zephaniah, but I don't have a reason to not to. Yet. Anyways, let's get into part 2. This is when it gets crazy. We start this episode with everyone saying goodbye to Ace as him and Zephaniah drive around town to find his family. We also get a small clip where we see that Zephaniah has more than one magical eye, and each of them do something different, such as fix the barrier around the circus. Zephaniah and Ace ride around for hours looking through different neighborhoods trying to find the one that he sees in his dreams. And just before they give up,
There!
Ace spots the house. He recognizes it from the mailbox, which is a weird way to recognize it. Zephaniah pulls up to the house and makes sure Ace wants to go back. And of course he wants to go back. Who wouldn't? So he grabs his things from the back of the truck and heads into the gate. And he bumps into his mom outside and she doesn't recognize him. I mean, it has been a while. He's probably grown up a little bit. Next, his dad comes around the corner. So he runs to him and gives him a hug, and this is when the mom says,
I think he's confused.
Sadly, nobody in his family recognizes him. And after a really long pause for realization, Ace finally just gives up.
Take me home.
It's a very depressing moment for sure, but come on, we all kind of saw that coming. It was just too good to be true. Once Ace gets back to his trailer, he starts angrily ripping all the family photos out of his locker, before bursting into tears. Luckily, Indigo comes in to comfort him. She assures him that his memories and visions had to be real, that something about this whole situation isn't right, and she wants to make sure she can help him. They just need to know where to look for the truth. But sadly, it's just too late, and Ace has lost all hope in going back home. And after she's done comforting Ace, Indigo walks outside to see Zephaniah has been watching them. And if that wasn't creepy enough, he tells her,
Haven't you done enough damage?
Implying that she's the reason Ace is depressed now. But this only sets alarms off inside her head.
You just need to know where to look.
The next day during the show, Ace has somewhat lost his touch. He fumbles one of his easiest tricks, he mistakes which guest he was smelling, that's kind of funny to say, and he also just sounds very depressed.
Oh, sorry. That's you, sir.
And he doesn't even get the family member right. It was the dude's daughter, not his wife. But while he's doing this, Indigo is doing somewhat of a heist of her own. Since Zephaniah is distracted by the show, she decided that this is the perfect time to break into his trailer and search for clues to help Ace find his family. So she breaks in through the roof? Wait, why didn't she just use the door? What's wrong with the door? Sure, it might have been locked, but I think it's a little more inconspicuous than her crawling on the roof of the trailer. She does, however, find his case of eyes, but one is missing.
Looking for this.
Finally, Zephaniah goes full villain and he shows Indigo the eye that erases everybody's memories. He even threatens Indigo.
We wouldn't want the others finding that out, would we?
But she's not scared of some old man, so she flat out tells him that there's nothing he can do to stop her. The only bad thing is, there is. He waves another eye in front of her and suddenly, she can't speak. She can try, but no words or noises come out of her mouth. He basically just hits the mute button on her. And now Zephaniah is going to use her as an example.
Let me show you what happens to traitors.
Zephaniah gathers everybody at the edge of the barrier, and he assures everybody that he really does hate to do this. Yeah, okay, buddy. But he has to set an example. But nobody wants to see what's gonna happen to her, especially Ace. But Zephaniah doesn't care what they want. He is more worried about protecting himself. Before her punishment, Indigo walks up to Ace and gives him back the picture that he drew of the tree, and a final goodbye hug. And then she calmly and very stoically steps outside of the boundary. And she turns into this thing. What is that? I'm gonna say it's a cocoon. It's gonna be a cocoon from now on. Puck and Gudge have to hold Ace back as Zephaniah proudly shows off the cocoon that has Indigo inside of it. He even hangs it off his trailer with about a dozen other cocoons to show everybody that this could be them one day. That night, Ace is hanging out in the mirror maze when he finally opens up the drawing that Indigo gave him. And on the back of the drawing, he finds... It turns out that he really couldn't stop her from telling everybody. The next day, Ace shows the members of the circus that he could trust, but they're all still a little brainwashed and they don't really believe that Zephaniah is a bad guy. So Ace is gonna have to do this alone. That night, Ace sneaks inside Zephaniah's trailer while he's still inside. Very brave of him to do that, especially dropping down from the roof. Again? Seriously, what's wrong with the door? Ace quickly finds the small wooden case with all the magical eyes in it, and this time, all of them are there. So he quietly picks it up and... Not the cartoon sneeze, come on! Luckily for Ace, his friends come around and they help him escape. He tries to run as far as he can, but he trips over a basket full of marbles. What is that even doing there? And now he can't even tell which ones are marbles or which ones are the glass eyes. Just had to be marbles, huh? Just had to. And he doesn't have much time either because Zephaniah is on his ass. Right when he does find the correct eye, Zephaniah kicks it out of the barrier, making it impossible for him or anybody else to grab. Zephaniah steps out of the barrier and then blames Ace for what happened to Indigo. And he says that he now has to punish everybody in the circus because of what Ace has done. But Zephaniah forgot one tiny detail. That eye only controls the false memories, but this one controls the barrier. Ace picks up a heavy rock and smashes the eye that holds the barrier, making it disappear. Now Zephaniah is completely exposed and you can kind of tell that he knows he fucked up. Ace runs and grabs the memory eye and quickly gives it to Kid Herc, who promptly crushes it. Man, that dude is strong. He crushes it into dust and then these little orbs start flying everywhere around them. They fly into people and not only does it give them their memories back, it shows us who they really are. Starting with Puck and Gudge, they were so good at diving because they were penguins all along. And Kid Herc was actually so strong because he was a grizzly bear. A very small and poorly green screen grizzly bear, but a grizzly bear nonetheless. Ace and the clowns are understandably very upset at this. They were only used as entertainment to make this man money. But Zephaniah claims that he did it to give them the greatest gift of all.
Gift of the spotlight.
But Ace very quickly sums up why this is all horrible.
That wasn't your choice to make.
And then the clowns turn back into, you guessed it, monkeys. But not any monkeys. Baboons, which are like the meanest monkeys. Yeah, they were like mean to everybody the whole episode, but there are arguably funnier monkeys that they could have used. For instance, spider monkeys are probably one of the goofier monkeys. They're actually super fun to watch because of how goofy and active and very brave they are. Second up is capuchin monkeys. They are also super adorable and charismatic. They are also very active and also my favorite character in the Night of the Museum movies. Tamarins and marmosets. They are also super adorable and charismatic monkeys. Don't look at my Goosebumps shirt, it's pretty cool, I do agree. They can also have funny little mustaches. That is adorable. They're also super friendly, almost friendly enough to be as pets, but do not have monkeys as a pet or I'll find you and I will shoot you with a gun. And I have an honorable mention to a squirrel monkey. They're very small and cute and adorable and funny and I love them. And I yield my time. Having baboons is insane. So insane that they take Zephaniah in the woods to probably kill him. I mean, he does plead for mercy.
Where are you taking me? Please, no.
Ace grabs one of the orbs into a jar and then brings it to Indigo's cocoon. He hopes that it brings her back, and after a second of waiting, it doesn't work. Sadly, she's still trapped. But we might have been just a little too impatient. Somehow she gets released from her cocoon. I think it's because the baboons probably ate Zephaniah and released the spell. And turns back into a... hummingbird? What do hummingbirds have to do with acrobatics? Am I dumb? I don't understand. What does a hummingbird do? It was Ariel, but she rolled around in a hoop. I don't understand. The next day, Ace walks all the way back to the house that he believed was his family's, with the last orb in his hand. The family is sitting on the porch playing Go Fish when it's revealed that this was Ace's family all along.
Mom, look, it's him. He's back. Come here, Ace. Come here, Ace. Hi.
He was their pet dog, and they've been looking for him for a long time. Him being a dog also explains why he could smell so good and also why he likes peanut brittle. I told you guys it was important. And we end the episode with the curious picking up one of Zephaniah's eyes. As the narrator asks us, do you have any talent? Where did it come from? Was it just luck? Or maybe it came from your true form?
What if, deep down, you too were once an animal?
And that's where the episode ends. Honestly, a top contender for one of the best episodes of Creeped Out, in my opinion. It's not exactly scary. It does have a jump scare though. Zephaniah is kind of a creepy dude. He does have an eerie vibe to him, but the glass eyes kind of give him some cool points, so I'll forgive him for that. Powerful eyes are usually not used in live action TV shows. They are used a lot in anime though. He has about 12 eyes, but we only get to see the power of 3 of them, so let me know in the comments below what you think these other eyes possibly do. But this episode does have a pretty decent twist.
Trying to level up your...
You guys have been begging for a creep. I decided to do this video standing up. Maybe it'll give me a little bit more energy. I seem very relaxed in my videos because I'm lounging back in my chair. You guys seem to really like the Creeped Out videos, sometimes more than the Haunting Hour videos, which is very weird to me, but okay. One of the most requested episodes of Creeped Out is The Many Places, which is okay with me because I love that episode. It was pitched to me in the comments a lot by, the back rooms. It's pretty much the back room, and you're not wrong. It is kind of like the back rooms in a sense that it's just an endless hallway of doors and elevators, and it's very creepy. And not only is it an endless hallway of doors and elevators, but there is something lurking in the dark. All right, let's get into it. So we start the episode out with the Curious, of course. Love this little guy. And he's jumping on a bed with a bunch of coins on it. She talks about the feeling of being lost and how a lot of strange things seem to happen while you're lost. And she ends the monologue by saying,
In the search for a way out, you find many interesting things you weren't looking for.
Next, we meet the family, and they're coming to Australia for a little vacation. Little do they know that summer in Australia, it rains a lot. And we also learned that their dad is pretty stupid.
Why is it raining? This is Australia. It's summer. It's not supposed to be raining.
What is it supposed to do? It's not supposed to rain while you're there? Is it just like a magical land? Is Australia a magical land? We also learned that the brother is a little stupid too.
Everything's upside down here.
Next, we get to meet the siblings, and their names are Nina, Jet, and Max. Nina is the older sister, Jet is the brother, and Max is the younger sister. We see that Nina is getting a little bit older now, and she doesn't really want to play with her sister.
Boboski Watson. Boboski Watson. Okay, that's all sorted.
What's Boboski Watson? Is that like a British thing? I've never even heard of Boboski Watson. Because she's now interested in boys. Woo, baby. We also learned that Jet is a little stupid.
The air here smells like nostril breath.
What is nostril breath? Max is a little bored and she wants to entertain herself, so she decides it's a good idea to go inside the elevator and push all of the buttons. And she almost succeeds in doing this, but she gets stopped by a weird old man. He stops her and tells her that bad things happen to kids that press all of the buttons. He tells her that the Quinkin will come for you. What is a Quinkin, you ask? You'll find out if you stick to the end of the video. This obviously scares Max, but luckily she gets saved by the store clerk that tells him that he's not allowed to use the customer elevator, which is very funny to me.
Got lost.
The rest of the family get inside the elevator, and when the father turns around, he turns around to see that Nina is getting a boy's number. I don't want to talk about him having Riz, because he's probably 14. They make it to the hotel room, and Nina and Max are arguing. Nina wants to get dressed to go to the pool so she can hang out with that boy, and Max just wants to go in because it's her room, her stuff is in there. And all this is happening while Jet is flipping through the channels with the volume turned all the way up, so it's just a pure chaos for the parents. And not only is Nina being mean to Max, she also scuffed Max's favorite black shoes. But they get in trouble by their mom, and Nina wins the argument. Max is upset that Nina is now older and she's no longer fun. They used to play together all the time. They used to hang out and be the best sisters ever. They used to put on little theatrical plays for her parents. But now she's just boring and wants to talk to nasty boys. Ew! But her dad tells her that she's just growing up. It's a part of growing up, and that it'll happen to her too.
Even him.
Maybe not him.
The parents tell Nina that she's only allowed to go to the pool if she brings the siblings, which she does not want to do. So on the way to the pool, she tells them that they're not allowed to hang out with her at all.
When we get there, you stay away from me, okay? I'm at one end of the pool and you're at the other.
And then we get another instance of Jet being a little stupid. On top of him wearing a VR headset in the hallways for no reason, he knocks down a picture that's sitting on a table. And because of him, I'm going to be wearing this for the rest of the video. I think this is cutting circulation off to my brain. Knocks over the picture, but he picks it up and puts it back on the table upside down. And his excuse is,
It's hanging rock. It's hanging.
I'm not committing to this bit. I cannot deal with that. I'll put it right here on my head like he does. Wow, this is going to give me a major headache. Max lets her intrusive thoughts win, and she presses every button to the elevator. They're has to be a way to make those things lighter. That thing's like 50 pounds, which causes the elevator to shake very, very badly. But when it stops, the kids seem to be okay. And Max's excuse for pressing all the buttons is,
The lights look pretty.
the doors open and they are not in the lobby like they want to be, so they decide to go ahead and just leave it and take the stairs. As they walk down the hallways, they can't seem to find the stair, so they decide to just go ahead and head back to the elevator. They might as well just see if they can reset it there. But when they head back towards the elevator, it is gone. The kids notice that there are no stairs and all the doors don't have signs.
No toilet, which I could really use right now.
And I guess there are no restrooms if there aren't any rooms, so. Max has a pretty good idea. She decides to try to use one of the room phones to call for help, but when she opens the door, it's just another hallway with a cool dolly zoom. I like the dolly zoom. Understandably freaked out, the kids start opening every door they can to see if they can find any sort of room so they can call for help. But every single door they open is just more hallways. Jet and Max are starting to get a little rattled and freaked out, and Jet thinks that they're dead and they're in purgatory.
Are we dead? No one's dead. Everyone stop talking. I need to think.
This would be the worst purgatory ever. I just want to point that out. I would hate to be just stuck in hallways. Benita has a
This doesn't make. Oh wait, hold up.
elevator and they can find their way out of this place. And that's about the time my mic got disconnected and the kids notice that there are no stairs and all the doors don't have signs.
This doesn't make sense. Like, the only thing it could be is like, oh, you just went to the basement.
No toilet, which I could really use right now.
And I guess there are no restrooms if there aren't any rooms. Jet and Max are starting to get a little rattled and freaked out, and Jet thinks that they're dead and they're in purgatory.
Are we dead? No one's dead. Everyone stop talking. I need to think.
This would be the worst purgatory ever. I just want to point that out. I would hate to be just stuck in hallways. Benita has a pretty good plan. They just need to find an elevator and they can find their way out of this place. And that's about the time my mic got disconnected and I didn't notice. Right after Nita offers this plan up, they start hearing a noise.
What was that?
They hear faint roars coming from the distance, which makes the already freaked out kids more freaked out. Max is super panicked about this, and she actually connects the dots that the roar comes from the Queenkin. And the Queenkin is a monster that the Boiler Man told her about. And this is when Nita has kind of a sweet sister moment where she calms her sister down by telling her to sit down and breathe, and then they play that patty cake game that she wanted to play earlier. But while they're doing their patty cake game, it gave the monster enough time to catch up to them. This absolutely freaks Max out, so she runs away and gets separated from her siblings. So not only are the kids now lost in an infinite hallway, Max is uber lost because she is separated from her siblings. We then get one of the cooler scenes in this episode where they use different shots of like different angles to show how confusing this hallway thing is. Max is just standing still and spinning around in circles, but you can feel how confused and lost she is by just this scene right here. They did a really good job with that one. I really enjoyed that. While the other two siblings are looking for Max, they start hearing music coming from the distance.
Listen. What's that?
So they follow the music and they find an elevator. Jet tries to run straight to the elevator, but Nita stops him.
Wait, Max.
But Jet has kind of a smart plan. He says, our parents are in the real world. They'll know what to do. Maybe. I don't know how much parents can do in infinite hallways, but I'm sure they have like a Max tracker or something, just like on their phone. This would be like the only situation where it's okay to track your kid. But needless to say, Jet does convince her to get inside the elevator. They push all the buttons and they do the violently shaking thing again. But as they're going down, Jet notices that this elevator is red, and the one they came down in wasn't red.
The walls are different. What? They weren't red before.
But when the doors open, everything seems to be normal. Well, normal to them, but the picture that Jet put upside down is now right side up. The kids use their key to go back into their room where they find not their parents. Luckily, this dude is really chill with them barging into their room with a key that they somehow got. But the kids apologize and they go downstairs to the front desk to ask if their parents somehow changed rooms or something. So they tell the lady at the front desk their names, and when she looks them up, they're not at the hotel, and the Boiler Man overhears this. Come back to Max, she's still lost in the hallways, and she starts hearing the monster coming after her again. So she does a really smart thing. plays dead. But as she's laying there, we hear somebody run up to her. And when she looks up, we get to see a pair of red shoes. Nita and Jet use a computer to look up their parents. They look up their mom's name first and they find her and a phone number. So they call that phone number and she answers, but she doesn't know who they are.
And you've got 3 kids. Kids?
She's also not married to Dudley, which is the dad's name. It's kind of a funny name, actually. She's married to this random guy that never gets a name. And we know they're married because they kiss. Ew. After they hang up, the boiler man jump scares the kids. So we learn that the kids found something called the mini place. And all the hallways and doors seem random, but they're not as random as they seem. Every time they open a door, it opens up another line to an alternate reality. The boiler man explains it as a reality cluster. And if you get lost in this cluster, you're pretty much stuck there forever. That is, unless you retrace your steps perfectly or another little more dangerous way. But we'll see what that one is later. And you have to find your original elevator to get back to your reality. And we do get to see that the reality they found themselves in is a little more futuristic, which would be cool. I wish they would have went outside the hotel or something, but I guess for budget reasons we can't see any more flying cars than this one. So the kids run back to the elevator, but the boiler man stops the doors from closing and tells them one last thing.
You need to know.
He tells them that ancient civilizations used to use the mini places as a prison for the unimaginables. And the one that this hotel is prison for is the fiercest one. And it doesn't get fed very often because not many people push all the buttons on an elevator because that's just stupid. And now is about the time where my mic got reconnected, so I'll see you back. So they go back to the mini places and they walk around for a pretty long time. Long enough for Jet to fall asleep with his eyes open. I mean, what? Enough for Jet to fall asleep while walking. They do go to a few other realities that are kind of cool. One is just like a warfare going on. It's just fireworks and gunshots. And one they go to is they didn't even go inside the elevator. It's just overflowing with water. It was really cool. I like that one. I kind of want to see what that one looks like. But they do land on one that looks like it's just a hotel that is completely abandoned. This is when Nita finally breaks down and starts crying. She feels completely hopeless now. They cannot find their parents, they cannot find Max, and she just doesn't know what to do. There's millions and billions of different realities that they can go to, but they'll probably never find their true reality.
Get up! Get up!
This is when Jet kind of smacks her around a little bit and tells her that you've been acting like a big kid this whole time. Why are you crying now? He tells her that she's been acting like an adult this whole time, but when things get a little rough, then she starts breaking down and crying like a little baby. For real, a nice scene for him. He kind of redeems himself from all the stupid shit he does. Still wearing that headset though, which I don't understand. That thing was heavy. But he does talk some sense into her. So she gets up and she tells him a little bit of a plan. First, they have to go find Max, because if they're going to be lost, at least they're going to be lost as a family. So they need to increase their chances of finding each other, which they luckily find a megaphone laying on the desk behind them. Like, what's the odds of like an abandoned hotel just having a working microphone right behind you? That's crazy. She also finds a crayon and then 2 sticks with big rocks on the end. And the sticks are...
That's in case the creature comes back.
Then they do something that's pretty smart. Nita goes around and marks X's on all the doors that they've already checked. Nita also marks arrows and she marks which doors they go in and out of. While Jet opens the door, yells Max, and then pretty much closes it immediately. They do this until they get an answer. And after a little bit of searching, they do find Max.
You guys?
Max!
But she's acting a little strange. They try to run to her, but before they can get to her, she says,
Don't come any closer.
she tells them that they have to close their eyes and they're not allowed to open them no matter what. She tells them that no matter what you hear or feel, do not open your eyes. I feel like the Doctor Don't Blink episode. Don't blink, and whatever you do, do not blink. Except for it's the opposite. It's like, only blink. Whatever you do, only blink. We see Max walk around the corner with something following her. Looks like she became friends with the Quinkin. The Quinkin is a pretty chill guy, actually. He only wants to eat your eyes, and he only does it out of instinct because when he sees them, he just goes after them. Apparently, they didn't find each other by accident. The Quinkin knew exactly where they were, so he led Max to her siblings. And he knows how to get them back to their true reality. I mean, I guess after living there for like all eternity, you probably know the hallways just a little bit. All they have to do for it to guide them to their true reality is to take its hand, which is not the best looking hand ever. It's kind of gross. We do get little glimpses of the Quinkin. He has hooved feet, but like human hands, and he's very hairy. Maybe it's the Goat Man. Is the Quinkin the Goat Man? As the Quinkin is leading them down the hallways, the kids do take little peeks, and we get to see them taking the peeks like it's our eyes as well. And as the doors are closing, we do get a better glimpse of the Quinkin. More of like a bird mouth, but with like sharp teeth. So they press all the buttons and make it back home. And we know this because the picture is still upside down. Thanks, Jet. Cool. When they make it back to their reality, Nita asks Max how did she know to just close her eyes. This is when Max tells her that the blind old boiler man told her to close her eyes if she encounters the Quinken. But the boiler man that's in their hotel isn't blind.
I guess it was a boiler man from a different reality who learned the hard way.
They noticed that she said that he told her that before they checked in, and that was before they got lost. Also, Max isn't wearing her black shoes. These ones are red. She also mentions a family vacation they went on, but they didn't go on that vacation because their grandmother died a few days beforehand. This is when Max just opens the door to their room and we get to see that Max is already there. Apparently, the Max that's with them saved their actual sister Max, and now she wants to keep her. Like a pet, I guess.
Can we keep her, Daddy? Can we keep her?
And that's the end of the story. What? We do get a little scene with the Curious. And it looks like he is also in that abandoned hotel reality, and he's having a little bit of fun. The narrator tells us that the many places are everywhere in the world, and to remember that bad things happen to kids that press all the buttons. I'm not doing it. I'm 22 years old. I ain't pressing all the buttons in the fucking... I ain't going there. I am not going there. Really good episodes. Actually, one of my favorite episodes of Creeped Out. Kind of like The Haunting Hour, I don't watch every episode of this because I do want to keep some of them surprises. Like, I haven't seen Kindle Sticks because I hear that one's also very good. But I did watch this one because it looked interesting to me when I first saw it. Everybody was like, it's the Backrooms. The Backrooms in Creeped Out. It's so cool. And they were right. It's really cool. I think they did a really good job on making the siblings seem like siblings. They do get annoyed with each other, and then they... Hello everybody and welcome back to the back alley of Dave & Buster's. On my journey to branch out from Goosebumps, A Haunting Hour, and Creeped Out, I have been recommended a few Creep Show episodes. Well, I say episodes, but I really should say stories because there's 2 stories per episode and you guys only talk about one, so I guess Creep Show stories. And most of you guys know Creep Show from the movies that were released in the 80s. There's one released in 2006 that doesn't get talked about as much, and those movies paid homage to the 50s and 60s horror comic books. But I'm not going to be talking about the movies today. I'm going to be talking about the 2019 TV show. And I gotta say, it's probably the best ongoing horror anthology show we have today. There's a few new ones that sprouted up, but I think this one's the most fun. Across all 4 seasons, it has terrifying monsters, awesome body horror, from werewolves to evil flowers to Bob Ross fighting the Evil Dead. Wait, is that an actual episode? This show really does have it all. And with that being said, it is a little bit more graphic than The Haunting Hour, because The Haunting Hour is a kids show, and this is on Shudder, and they're free to do whatever they want. So I will be censoring anything I think the YouTube lords won't approve of, which is a lot. And if you want to see the uncensored version, for some reason you freak, you can find it on my Patreon. The $5 members will be getting the full uncensored version of my video. So join me today as we talk about one of the stories from the very first episode known as House of the Head. The show shows a bunch of comic panels and stuff, and there's tons of Easter eggs in them. I'm not going to be talking about any of them. I'm very sorry, I forgot to look at it. Maybe next time. But there is a comic panel that conveniently introduces us to the story, so I'm gonna read what it says right here. Ah, there you are, kiddies. The next tale will have you wishing for a house you can call your own. But you know the old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. Unless it gets you first. There's a monstrous magic in the air in this scary tale I call House of the Head. Then we get a nice clean transition into the episode, where we meet our main character, Evie, and her parents, Marcia and Randy. Evie is showing off her nice new dollhouse, which must have cost her parents a fortune. Oh, it's not that expensive. Still a good chunk of money. I just thought that dollhouses were like way more expensive than that. And we get to meet her doll family, the Smiths.
Sounds more like a stutter than a name.
And that family consists of father, mother, Ethan, and Dane. Sadly, Evie can't stay home and play with the Smiths all day. She has to go to school, but we just skip over that boring stuff, and she gets back home almost immediately. And when she gets home to check on her dolls, she sees something new. Looks like the head of a zombie or something has found its way inside her dollhouse. Not only is there an unwanted visitor in the house, but looks like her other dolls have moved.
Weren't you 2 laying down?
And it also looks like they're scared. Well, kind of. As scared as a doll can look. Ethan definitely looks scared, though. Ethan is me when I was like 12 years old and watching like, I called Jeff the Killer at 3 a.m. Those YouTube videos, you guys remember those? What if I started making those videos? Would you guys still love me? And in the time for Evie to merely pan her eyes to the other rooms of the house, the head has moved. And for some reason, Evie just rubs the bloody part of the head with her finger. And she does, in fact, get blood on her finger.
Yuck.
Yeah, gross. I think it's to show that the head is alive and that it still bleeds, but I don't understand why she just reached her hand in there and touched it. If anything, I would have picked up the head and taken it out of the dollhouse. Why did she just leave it in there? But Evie has a little but Evie has a little mommy-daughter date, so she has to leave the Smiths alone for a little while, and she tells them to wait right there, don't move. Yeah, I'm sure that'll work. Fast forward to that night, and Evie comes home to see that the dolls have in fact moved again, and they've moved pretty far from their bed this time. And the head is just chilling on the couch. What if he's like a chill guy? Why are we all just suddenly like terrified of him because he's just like a severed head? What if he's like a nice guy? Like we didn't even get to know him. I think that's profiling. I think we're profiling the head. I think we should give him a chance. Well, Duke gets a pass because Duke is a dog. He can't profile people. Evie takes a look around the house again to check on the Smiths, and when she looks back, the head is gone. And she can't seem to find it on this side of the house, so she decides to put the wall back up and walk around to the other side where we see... Found it. Okay, this dolly zoom out of the dollhouse is probably the coolest thing in this episode. It really makes you feel like you're like inside the dollhouse with these dolls. And all this strange doll movement is making Evie a little scared, so she decides to go ahead and try to go to bed tonight. Cut to the next day, and Evie's mom takes her to a doll shop where she can buy other dolls and little furniture and stuff. It's pretty cool. And this is when we meet Mr. Ogman, the owner. I think I'm saying it right. Ogman. He made Evie's dollhouse, and he claims that it's one of a kind. Mr. Ogman and Marcia talk about how kids playing with dolls is really special because it helps them figure out who they are.
I guess that's why they call them figurines.
Then Mr. Ogman says,
They don't typically like to tell you about it either.
Tell you about what?
What they're figuring out.
Wait, is Mr. Ogman in on this? Is he the reason this weird stuff is happening? Oh no, the way he said that just doesn't sit right with me. I feel like he's up to something. He also built the house, so he could have hid the head in there somehow, like in the walls or something. Evie looks around at some dolls and she picks up a police officer, and she's kind of hoping that maybe the police officer will also come to life and help them figure out the head problem. So she buys the officer, takes him home, and sets him in with the family. But when she does this, she once again can't find the head. Evie has to leave again for a little bit to, you know, take a shower, eat, do human things. But when she gets back, the Smiths are watching as the cop searches for the head. And his investigation takes him to the attic where... What's going on here? Her dad interrupts little playtime, where he tells her it's time for bed and she can play with the dolls in the morning. But before he can leave, she stops him, gives him a big hug, and tells him,
I love you, Daddy.
But I think this was a tactic to get on his good side because she does not listen to him at all. Rather, she grabs a flashlight and decides to help the cop find the head. Wait, where did he go? Oh no, the head is not a chill guy. Not a chill guy. We profiled right, guys. Profiling works. The poor Smiths have to just stand there and stare at the headless cop. They just stand there in disbelief as Evie tries to look around really quick to see if she can find what room the head is in. And she finds it inside of a mirror. And this is when Evie gives it one last warning.
Stay away from the Smiths.
Before going to bed. The next day, we head back to the doll shop where Evie asks Mr. Ogman if they have a priest or a rabbi or something she can buy, which he sadly doesn't have. But it's a little weird that a little girl wants a priest doll, so he asks her,
What do you need them for?
She tells him that she wants a spiritual doll because I guess she wants to try to exorcise the head. So he points her to the Native American dolls because they're spiritual people. So she grabs one off the shelf, takes it home, and sets it in front of the Smiths. And he is there to protect them, which I think makes them pretty happy. And once again, Evie has to leave to go downstairs for family movie night, because if she sat there and watched the dolls, they just wouldn't move. But while she's down there watching the movie, all she can think about is what's going on with the Smiths. Okay, we're going into the last 5 minutes of the episode, so you guys need to buckle up. This shit gets real. Really real. Fucking crazy. Evie goes back upstairs to find the chief is now looking for the head. And she tries to help the chief find it by looking around too, but she's having a hard time as well. And it looks like the dolls are moving faster now, because now every time she looks away, the dolls change, rather than before where she could be gone for a few hours and they would barely move. She finds the chief is now looking outside, so I guess the head somehow escaped. So she runs to the side of the house to try to help him, but
No!
it's too late. And now the head is closer to the Smiths than ever before.
Look out!
But Evie is getting a little too loud and her screams accidentally woke up her mother who was downstairs, so she comes up to check on her. She asks if she's okay, if she's scared, if she wants to come lay down with her and her dad. But Evie lies and's like, no, I'm not scared. I want to stay in my room. But her mom reminds her it's okay to be a little scared and it is okay to still sleep in your parents' room. She is like 5. I love this family dynamic in this episode, by the way. They're all very loving the whole time. Even though their daughter's a little bit weird and doing some weird stuff, they support her. And after her mom leaves, Evie immediately goes back to check on the Smiths. No, the head got to the parents. But wait, where's Ethan? Now that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Now that's fucked up. Evie angrily rips the head off of Ethan's body and throws it across the room. Why didn't she do that before? Why didn't you do that like when you first saw it? But now the head is in her room, so now she has to go find it. So she's looking around her room for this tiny head and she's having kind of a hard time doing it until... I guess that's the reason she didn't do it before. And she's way braver than me because she picks up the ugly fucker and puts him back in the dollhouse.
No more. No more of the head.
Then we cut to the next day where Evie decides she is done having the dollhouse. And it looks like she gave it away in a charity event, which is a little fucked up, but I mean, if it gets it out of the house as quick as possible, I guess I support it. And it looks like this woman is interested in buying the house. Well, not for long. And that's where the episode ends. One of the most effective stories. Please go watch it on Shudder. It's so much better than any way I could tell you. You get so invested in these little dolls. I literally gasped at...
Yo, my computer is... My computer is so...
the end, whenever they died, I was like, no. I also had a feeling throughout the whole episode that maybe what is happening to them is going to start happening to Evie and her family. Luckily that didn't happen, but that would have been a really cool parallel thing. So yeah, please go watch the full episode. Also just check out Creepshow on Shudder. It is such a cool show. The second episode has werewolves fighting and killing Nazis. Who doesn't love that? That's awesome. Let me know what you think about. Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is King Noosme. We are going back to sitting down for a little while because my microphone is stupid. Literally if I move it, it'll disconnect, so it's gonna stay right here. Last week I ran a poll asking you guys what episode of Creepshow you guys would like to see, and unsurprisingly you guys voted for Public Television of the Dead. It's one of the most popular episodes of Creepshow, so it didn't surprise me at all. We're good. We're good, I think. And for those of you guys who don't know what Creepshow is actually a set of movies that was made in the 1980s, and then there was a random third one in 2006. These movies paid homage to the old 50s and 60s horror comic books, such as Tales of the Crypt and the other ones. But we're not going to be talking about the movies today. We're actually going to be talking about the 2019 TV series on Shudder. And across all 4 seasons, it has terrifying horror, awesome monsters, gruesome gore. From Nazi killing werewolves to evil flowers, this series really does have it all. Now that being said, this show is a little bit more graphic than The Haunting Hour and Goosebumps, so I will have to blur a few things that I think YouTube won't like. But if you're a gross person and wants to see the disgusting gore, then you can go over to my Patreon, where the $5 members will get the whole uncensored episode for free. Now, on my last video, I briefly mentioned that Creepshow had an episode that stars Bob Ross versus the Evil Dead, and that got a lot of you guys intrigued. So intrigued that I obviously had to put it on the poll, which it obviously won. Don't worry, I would have voted for it too. And it is the second part to the first episode of the second season, and it's definitely one of the better stories in the whole series, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But before we talk about it, I want to give a little brief summary of the Evil Dead franchise, because some people might not know what it is. The Evil Dead franchise was made by Sam Raimi. Yes, the same Sam Raimi that made the Spider-Man movies. The first film follow a group of teenagers as they go vacation in a remote cabin in the woods, where they discover the Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead. They unleash evil forces onto themselves, and slowly each friend fall victim to the evil spirits that come out of the book, leaving Ash Williams to somehow survive it and continue fighting it for the rest of his life. Not joking, the next 2 movies, he's still fighting the Evil Dead. Then he has a TV series where he's fighting the Evil Dead, but he's an old man, and that series is awesome. And it became a pretty big cult classic, and I highly recommend you watch these movies if you like funny horror movies. They're the best. best. They are the best. But that's enough yapping, let's get into the episode. We start the episode flipping through some comic book pages. And unlike the last video, I actually decided to go frame by frame and check out each comic page to see if there's anything interesting in any of them. And the first one we see is this. Terrifying picture. It's just a illustration of somebody with their eyes sewn shut. At first glance, I had no idea what this was, so I decided to reverse Google search it. And it's really cool because it's actually an old ad for a shrunken head keychain kit. And I couldn't find this exact picture on the ad, but this picture and the one right here are pretty close. They're pretty much the same picture. And the next funny thing we get to see is the creep is just making fun of the Titanic for some reason. And lastly, we see an ad for The Victim, which is a voodoo-ish doll that's used in the previous story, Model Kid, which you can watch in the same episode as this one. And next we see the introduction panel that reads, "Hello kitties, and welcome to our newest frightening fable filled with delightful demons and a book bound in human flesh. To get your own, you just need to read these words. Kanda, Estrata, Klatu, Barada." I'm not finishing that. I'm not even going to test it. Now travel with me to Pittsburgh as we enter the soundstage for Public Television of the Dead. And then we get a cool transition to Miss Bookberry. And she's the host to a children's TV show known as Miss Bookberry's Magical Library. And today she's reading a story to teach the kids about karma, which is a little weird now that I think about it. I wonder if it's like important to the episode and that's why I mentioned it. And next we get a glimpse of the behind the scenes to see how the show is run. Mrs. Bookberry is recording a commercial for a donation event for the station that she works at.
It's the WQPS Fletch Drive. That's where we ask all the mommies and daddies out there to fuck.
But she keeps forgetting her lines. And this is when we learn that Mrs. Bookberry isn't as nice as she portrays herself on television.
Okay, whatever, here we go.
She's actually the worst. So after she finally gets her lines right, she decides to go to her dressing room and do her business. But this is when we get introduced to Claudia. Claudia is one of 3 main characters in this episode, and she's the station manager for WQPS. Claudia and Miss Bookberry have a conversation about giving Bookberry an earlier time slot. Claudia doesn't want to give it to her because it's already there for a show called Love of Painting, and it's been that show's time slot for 10 years, and it won't survive if they put it in any other time slot. But Bookberry doesn't care. She has the biggest show on the station, is the only reason people watch the station, and if she wants that time slot, she's gonna get it. Even taking it as far as threatening Claudia's job.
They took a big chance on promoting someone like you to station manager.
Huh?
What do you mean by that?
You got me, sister?
No. I would have punched her in the face. Sadly, this episode is set in the 70s, and Claudia just has to bite her tongue and take the blatant racist remarks. And Claudia gives Miss Bookberry that 3 o'clock slot. Also, put Miss Bookberry on the list of terrible characters I've talked about. We cut to the set of The Love of Painting with Norm Roberts. It's a very obvious nod to The Joys of Painting with Bob Ross. And I really don't need to mention all the similarities that happen in this episode with these two. There is a few that are kind of funny, like Norm is balding while Bob has a beautiful head of hair. They even added little Easter eggs in the episode.
And we'll shake it off and just beat the devil out. That really is the fun part of this whole technique.
This is my favorite part. Just beat the devil out of it.
Not to mention there's a little devil on his easel too. Now listen, I can talk about all the similarities all day. There's so many, and you can obviously see it. But we have an episode to get through. Claudia has come to their set to inform them that their show is sadly being canceled. And even hearing this sad news, Norm just says,
"Oh no, it's too bad."
And then asks if he can record just one last episode, which Claudia grants them. George and Claudia then go off to the side to have a private conversation. Claudia is wondering how Norm is always so calm. Even in hearing this bad news, he's not angry at her that she basically pulled the rug out from under him. Well, my friends, that's because Norm was a Marine in Vietnam. Apparently, he had to do some pretty terrible stuff to get out of it. Cut to a different show, and this one's called The Appraiser's Road Trip. And it is exactly what you think it is. An old dude appraising things. Very fun, right? He appraises things like snow blowers, medieval swords, a jar of Civil War coins. Anyways, this man shows up to the show to get this book he has appraised. And this man is Ted Raimi, playing as himself, Ted Raimi. Who is Ted Raimi? Sam Raimi's brother. I'm glad you figured that out. He brings our appraiser, Goodman Tappert, a book bound in human skin that apparently has been in his family for many years. Tappert is really impressed with this book, but sadly the book is locked, and Ted lost the key. It's a bummer. I was really excited to see what was in there.
But then it was found.
Then why didn't you say that, Ted? Tappert unlocks the book and opens it to find that it's written in a strange language. And it's also filled with creepy imagery. And as he scours through the book, Ted is just excited that he's going to get a lot of money.
What do you think, a Camaro or a hot tub? Hot tub.
Yes.
Tappert says it's written in Kandarian, and any museum would pay $300,000 to $400,000 for this book, which is crazy, insane, and this dude was going to throw it away.
I nearly threw it out like a million times.
And luckily for us, Tappert can read Kandarian for some reason. Very convenient. It's a little strange how convenient that is. And this is when we learn that the book was the Necronomicon. The Necronomicon is the Book of the Dead and is also how the Evil Dead is released, but only if you read a certain incantation. So obviously, Tappert starts reading that exact incantation.
Listen to these wretched incantations.
And while he's reading it, the book seemingly takes over his body and forces him to finish it even though everybody wants him to stop. Which in turn turns good old Ted Raimi into a Deadite. And he wastes no time in shoving the key in Tappert's skull. Now that Ted is possessed, he officially declares that he's going to use the kids' live show tonight to turn all the kids in Chicago into Deadites and rule the world. And then demonically laughs into the camera. Cut back to the love of painting, where Norm is finishing up his last painting for the show. And he sadly has to inform the people that this is the last time they're going to be seeing him. And you can tell that this really hurts everybody in the room, even Claudia. As he's saying his final goodbye, Daddy Teddy finds his way to them. And he starts to wreak havoc in the studio, which Norm doesn't appreciate. He politely asks the Deadite to leave while rolling up his sleeve, showing off his Semper Fi tattoo. And when the Deadite refuses to leave, well, Norm just kicks his ass. But no matter what he does, the Deadite just keeps getting up. So finally, he just fills his mouth with paint thinner and lights his head on fire. It's probably the coolest thing they do in this whole episode. I love that. Which gets the job done. So they pick up George and they make their escape. But as they're leaving, looks like someone else is still alive. Cut back to Bookberry, who's been in the bathroom this whole time. What am I saying? I'd probably take longer in the bathroom. She pours herself a nice glass of whiskey and starts to get ready for her live show when she hears,
You worthless piece of shit.
what the hell? Apparently, her dad was very mentally abusive to her as a kid. Now he hears her voice coming through her puppet, Henrietta. Henrietta berates her, starts telling her how stupid and ugly she is and how she's never gonna make it big time. But all she wants to do is make her daddy proud. When suddenly, there's a knock at the door. Bookberry thinks it's a director trying to get her to hurry up and come out, but she's not ready yet and she's not afraid to tell them.
Fuck off, Greg. I'm not taping anymore.
But they keep just knocking and pulling and jiggling the doorknob. So finally she gets up, opens the door too. That's not good. The group make it to the appraiser studio and they find it completely demolished and there's bodies just littered everywhere. They decide it's best if they check the footage to find out what exactly happened there. But before we see what's on that footage, we get a really cool scene. We get a classic Evil Dead shot as we see the demons flowing through the hallway, and it stops at Bookberry to show us she's turned as well. The group watched exactly what we did earlier in the show, but as he's saying the incantation, Norm tells him to stop.
Listening to wretched incantations is not going to improve our situation here.
Norm and Claudia think if they find the book, they probably can find a way to stop the Deadites, but they can't seem to find it anywhere. Found it! And it looks like the Evil Dead got to poor Tappert too. And this scene is really cool because they use special lights behind the actors to make it feel more like a comic book, and which is something they do for the rest of the series that I really like. It's a nice little touch to the series. George sees this from the audio room up top and panics a little bit to try to figure out what he needs to do. So he just starts turning different knobs and stuff to mess with the audio, which makes a screeching noise fill the studio room, making the Deadite run away. And they all group back up in the audio room and try to figure out how to get the Necronomicon.
The Homoeticon?
But this time, they're interrupted by Miss Bookberry's show starting. She looks a little deranged, if you ask me. And what happened to Henrietta's eyes? Looks like the Deadite's plan is working flawlessly. Bookberry starts to read the Necronomicon on live TV, so hundreds of kids in Chicago are getting possessed right now. When the group finally make it to the studio, and Claudia gives us one badass one-liner.
I'm responsible for the program quality of Channel 13, and this show does not meet WQPS standards.
It's so goofy and badass. I love it. It's so good. Best line in the whole series. Best line ever, actually. But the Deadites aren't scared of some measly humans, so they ask, what are you gonna do about it? And Norm tells them,
We're going to beat the devil out of you.
They're so smart. How did they think of that? Then he uses the snowblower and the Civil War coins from earlier and absolutely peppers the Deadites in silver coins, which seemingly kills them, but of course they don't die that easy. Bookberry tells Claudia that the book hungers for young souls, but Claudia won't let that happen. She's actually so cool, dude. Also, here's a clip reminding you that they are in fact live on TV right now. Isn't that awesome? And since Bookberry doesn't have a head anymore, I guess it's Henrietta's turn to take over. Luckily, she's just a puppet, so you can just grab her and rip her away from the book. Oh, they're trapped. And George got knocked out. This is a predicament. Oh, I forgot! Norma's a Marine, so he easily escapes the Deadite's grip and rips the key out of his forehead. He then runs up, kicks Henrietta out of the window, literally, slams the book on the table, locks it shut, and defeats the Evil Dead. Or the Evil Dead. They don't really say what it is. Cut to a few weeks later, and Norm got his show back with a bigger budget. And also, Chicago wants his show to go national. So things are really looking up for everybody. And everybody just thought that what they saw live on TV was just a stunt set up by the station to get more viewers. So an accidental publicity stunt actually worked. And now that Bookberry is dead and not hogging up all the time slots, they have more room for other shows.
Maybe it is karma.
And the story ends with a slow zoom out of the TV showing the kids watching The Love of Painting. Or maybe not. Transition back into the comic book, and we see that the comic book panels around it are actually the Necronomicon. We get a short little animated clip of the creep putting his own Necronomicon back on the bookshelf. And that's the end of the episode. Yes, I know this episode is super wacky, not really scary at all, but it's one of my favorites ever. I really enjoy this episode. Even Model Kid before it is really fun to sit down and watch. And Mark Ashworth, the man that played Norm, I think he did a really good job at capturing the essence of Bob Ross. He was a very peaceful person, and the little clippets of his show that we did get to see were actually really nice to watch and does remind you of the joy of painting. So I think he did a really good job. And there's also a few small details that I want to point out that I'm sure I've missed a lot more, but here's just 3. The Necronomicons don't look exactly the same, but they look pretty similar to where if you haven't seen the movies in a while, you'd think it was the same.
I think I should.
So guys, I bought a Dybbuk box on eBay the other day, and when I opened it, a giant black mass turned into a man and shouted,
"It's finally my turn to be God,"
and then flew into the sky. Should I be worried, or... What's up everybody, my name's King. Thing in Oakwood's Past. And it's not the only animated story in the series either. There's a whole hour-long special that is 2 animated stories that hopefully I can talk about one day. And this story is the second half of episode 5.
Thank God. Why is it freezing all the time? It's always YouTube for me. It's always that.